welcome back to Red Embrace Hollywood. We are back and we have to choose if we think we should lay an ambush or wait for the other two to like dwindle down each other. I'm going to choose to wait. Very well, our forces will remain nearby until the right moment of purchase. Hope that's not the wrong choice. A fine choice, I'm sure it'll go over marvelously. Shang offered a supportive snap with his fingers, seeming thrilled about the idea. I'll be staying up tonight with a few daring assistants, I think. We'll funnel some unusual images into our enemies' dreams, plan a few distractions for tomorrow. You do you, Shang. And I most certainly will, Michiko, thank you. With a little cackle, he tipped his hat at me mischievously. With patience and planning, we may well emerge as tomorrow's victors. Andre's gaze, which had never left my face while Shang spoke, grew a little sharper. What? However, there is one remaining concern. Not all the city vampires will be participants in this conflict. Of course, some of the Mavar and Ascari will undoubtedly agree to join our new government after the turning tides of power become clear, but there will be many others remaining who wish to see our downfall, both yours and my own. He paused for a moment, letting the unpleasant implication of his words sink in. We may engage dissenters in combat or drive them out, as well as charging their leaders with their respective war crimes. There is also the option of keeping the remaining vampires under surveillance to prevent future violent activity. What is your opinion on this matter? Drive them out? Let them stay if they agree to surveillance? Drive them out and put Charisse and Randall on trial? Kill them before they try to kill us? No, I think we should keep them under surveillance. I don't want to drive them out because they'll come back. I mean, they'll still be angry with us keeping them under surveillance, but still. Andre nodded, tilting his head thoughtfully. An interesting choice. I would strongly consider such a course of action. Then there is nothing more to discuss for tonight. All that remains is tomorrow's denouement. Denouement? His attention flicked from me back to the group of Golgotha, and he motioned with one hand around the graveyard. Those of you not guarding the cemetery are free to repose wherever you see fit. There is plenty of space for all within the mausoleums. The less claustrophobic among you may even find the lodgings to be pleasantly agreeable. Well, I can't go back to the hotel because I'm no longer, accepted by my own people. When Andre finished speaking, soft murmurs filled the night air, and the gathered vampires quickly started to disperse. Some of them shuffled inside the mausoleum, while others roamed along the trees and graves, disappearing into the darkness. Andre and Shang wandered off together down the path, leaving me by myself. There was no sign of Markus anywhere, though I didn't have any reason to believe he'd show up either. When he fell from that rooftop, he had the expression of someone who didn't want to come back. Someone who couldn't come back. Wait, you're telling me he's dead? With that sobering thought in my mind, I stepped inside the mausoleum. Sleep, I had a feeling, wouldn't come easy. There's no way. This Route's sad. He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me. He loves me not. Am I dreaming? The squeaky whisper of a Golgotha beside me tickled my ear. She was sitting against the wall with the rest of us, counting through her rifle magazine with one finger. I'm sure he loves you. Oh, he does. The girl winked at me as we were sharing some kind of secret code. I was crowded in a small nook off the road with about a quarter of the attacking group. The rest were stationed further down. The Mavar hideout was down the alley nearby, within hearing distance. We'd been patiently lying in wait, listening for the first signs of combat between the Mavar and Ascari. Our presences were cloaked, hidden by the shell of some Golgotha power I didn't really understand. It wouldn't last very long, but long enough for us to catch our opponents off guard, supposedly. Earlier that evening, Andre had assigned me to the group. He seemed confident that I should be involved, and it made it clear that there wasn't any room for argument. Dude, I'm dying. And then I decided to... What did I choose last time? Fight in the battle myself. Stay nearby, ready to help or negotiate. I feel like I've said to fight in the battle myself, but your girl is not confident. Stay nearby, ready to help. I didn't intend to involve myself in the fight, but it could still be useful. If anyone needed help or if there was a chance for negotiations, I'd be able to step in. And one of those things had to happen. As we waited together in darkness, no one seemed inclined to say anything. Besides the girl next to me, a few people whispered now and then, but most others seemed weighed down by anticipation. Only the occasional sound of passing traffic broke the silence. Oh! Shang abruptly lifted his head. All of a sudden, eager yells and screams rang over the shriek of gunfire burst. But soon the sounds grew more scattered, uneven. One side was losing. Well, I think it's about time we hop onto the stage. Shang straightened his hat, beaming at the group. We wouldn't want to keep our audience waiting after all. I hope I don't die. Motioning for us to follow, Shang slipped out of our hidden spot. I followed along with the other Golgotha, bracing myself for whatever was around the corner. But none of us were ready for the Mavaran Scar to charge at us head on. Yeah, I'm so dead. Within seconds, a cataclysmic fight exploded in front of me. All I could see was gunfire and streaks of blood. Everywhere I looked, corpses were already falling, pools of blood splattering the asphalt. Shrieks and howls blended into one constant roar, and the stench of death clogged my senses. Unlike at the club, no one targeted me. They were just charging the first enemy we saw. But the deaths were too fast, full of shattering skulls, claws ripping open throats, brains smashed into the ground. Blood splattered my face, my clothes, and the carnage around me raged on and on. A hand weakly grabbed my leg, fingers scrabbling against it. I looked down to see the vampire who charged in with us, but his chest was torn open, and through his shattered ribs I could see an unbeating heart. Fuck. What should I do, dude? Yikes. Put him out of his misery. I reached into my jacket for the spare pistol I brought, aiming at his head. As I was about to squeeze the trigger. Why? Blood drew from his lips, eyes wide and stupefied as they stared into mine. Aren't you fighting? I don't believe in it. I don't think this is a solution, bro. You fought with me. Maybe you have lived. You know what? You said the same thing last time too. I watched as his torn body convulsed, fingers tearing at its own exposed fat and tissue, until he suddenly stopped, his dull, lifeless eyes still fixated on my face. The air blended into a cacophony of laughter, roars, and screams. The air, gleeful and horrified like sounds rising from hell. Some vampires had already given up, turning tail and fleeing for their lives. Others were trying to claw their way to safety, only to get cut down before they could escape. Each time I blinked, I saw a different body falling down. How has no one attacked me? More and more piling up on the ground, heaps of entrails, shattered bones, crushed organs. Dead friends, dead enemies, and corpses beyond recognition. But in death, all of them look the same. Wow. I somehow managed to escape. The chaos seemed to stretch on and on and on. But at last the screams died into whimpers. How am I alive still, bro? In reality, the fight had only lasted a few minutes, even though it seemed like forever. But because of our monstrous natures, the results were horrific. All around me, dead vampires covered the ground, headless, limbless, or with their hearts cut open. The stench of their blood permeated the air, belching out from their open wounds. Slowly, I realized that we'd won. There were more Golgothas still alive, some groaning and shuddering on the ground, others helping tend to the fallen. The Mavaran and the Scar had fled, leaving only their dead behind. But we'd lost many of our own too. All of these corpses would have to be taken away, and one by one they become a tragedy to someone, not just part of a faceless mass. Just as I finally stumbled away from the sea of bodies, a human passed by the alleyway. He froze mid-stride, staring down at us at the mangled bodies littering the concrete. The moment seemed surreal. I was expected to jolt out of a dream from anesthesia in a dentist's chair, to realize everything that happened since that night at the club was one long bizarre delusion, and I was back in the normal waking world. The man's eyes met my own. His pupils, like two TV screens switched off, had a blank look that had to be pure abject horror. Or so I thought, until he shrugged and continued on. At first I was stunned. It was like the horrible sight hadn't affected him at all. But after a moment I realized why the man hadn't shown any reaction. He must have thought he'd wandered past the movie set, and somewhere there were eagerly rolling cameras, panning slowly across the bleeding corpse to capture every cinematic drop. Because after all, this was Hollywood. And I'm alone in this Hollywood, and I'm very sad. What is this? I'm so depressed. It almost looked like space. Blurred colors danced far below me, twinkling like faraway galaxies. Traffic roamed in straight lines, each light racing forward until finally being snuffed out. They reminded me of shooting stars. All of it was surrounded by an endless sea of black, one that stretched on and on until it finally joined with the dark sky. As distant and cold as space, like I was watching from another planet. Oh, hey, Andre. I guess. How different things will be one day. A low voice whispered beside me, his words fading into the cool night air. One day, when this world is no longer so alien to us. How did I end up here when we have overcome all of our fates? I'm so mad. Only a few months had gone by, though it seemed like forever. After the fight, Andre and I began sorting out the cove and following up on our plans. Taking my advice, Andre established a surveillance system for LA's vampires in order to keep peace. He allowed them of Varna's guard to stay, but kept them under harsh rules, saying it was temporary as long as they didn't show any signs of another cope. Not coop. As times went by, Andre honored his word, keeping me as his high-ranking assistant for as long as I desired. Our relationship never really grew any closer, like he purposely kept a distance from me, but he always seemed to listen to my opinions carefully. With LA firmly under Andre's control, all of our resources were put towards furthering his plan. Nobody knew how long it would take before we could enact it. Years, decades, maybe even centuries more. But hope stayed high. Everyone clung to the idea of a world where we didn't have to hide in the dark, always pretending like we didn't exist. It was that dream, however distant, that kept the coven motivated together. A dream Andre always encouraged to the fullest. As for Heath, Andre had allowed him to stay in Saturnalia, maybe out of sympathy, but it didn't last for long. In a small note he sent to my apartment, he said he was leaving to try and find somebody. Although he didn't say who. His mom, obviously. I had a feeling I'd never find out. Now I'm really alone. What happened to Randall? He's dead? But amidst all the chaos and the calm that followed, there was one person I could never truly forget. I still had the keys to Blood and Roses that he'd given me, and I decided to keep them somewhere safe and not visit the shop regularly, keeping it clean. Throw the keys away! I would never. I would still visit the shop regularly. Shit, gotta blur this shit out. I stopped by Blood and Roses every week or so, dusting things off and brushing away cobwebs from the mannequin's fingers. Despite Marcus's absence, or maybe because of it, the shop received a lot of mail from different senders. Love letters, hate letters, various gifts, and tell-telling phallic packaging. It made my cleaning nights interesting, to say the least. One day I spotted a small box in the back room, one I'd never noticed before. Curious, I pulled it open and realized it was filled with cat food. The discovery completely baffled me at first, but when I studied the room more closely, I started to pick up on certain clues. A small window that was low enough for a cat to jump into, wobbly suction cup dodos attached to the wall covered in scratch marks, and 2 bowls tucked away in the corner. Apparently this is where Marcus fed the local feline community, and also used his unwanted merchandise as cat toys. After that, I felt obliged to leave the window open during my visits, setting food out for the cats. It seemed like a fitting way to honor Marcus in his absence. Fuck my feelings. Here we go again, with the man himself. Soon, Michika, our ties to the city will be forever changed. Andre's low, nearly monotone voice resonated beside me, filling the cool night air. Soon we will no longer be forced to admire its beauty from the underworld, but we must be patient for our dawn to arrive. When I glanced over at Andre, his dimly glowing eyes were filled with sharp, grim determination. For a moment, I found myself wondering what Marcus would have said if he saw me here, standing next to Andre, supporting his dream. The dream of a very different future, where maybe Marcus and I would finally cross paths in another world altogether. I don't like this. A new beginning for us all. I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. My heart. How do I skip this? I can't skip it. Escape is just that. Alright, well. I watched through the credits. We stand with Andre. I'm sad. I'm so heartbroken. Marcus, what kind of ending was that? We couldn't even get the not safe for work. Wonder how you would get that. Where's Marcus? Homogeneous was the ending we got for Marcus. Sorry if I sound really down, because I am down. I'm very depressed. Where's Marcus? Let's not this scene. Let's pretend to see this scene. Let's pretend that actually happened in the very end, you know? Fuck. This series has been very, like, long on my channel. Because we started last year, right? We started from the very beginning when the game was first released, I think. Or maybe a couple days after. I can't remember because it's been so long. And then I had, like, a whole vacation situation. And so that got delayed further. And then I had, like, depression and all that. I still, like, there's too much shit going on. But we have finally finished the series. I think Marcus's route hits me the most. Just because he just disappeared like that. I'm sure there are ways for me to, like, unlock the certain scenes I couldn't see. But I feel like Marcus's route for sure is the one that hits me the hardest. Especially because Lazarus also died in it. And we ended up with Andre, helping him with his path, which I didn't think would happen, but it happened. From my most happiest moments, I would say it's with Randall. With my most hurt moments, it's with Marcus. And then Heath. Heath hits me differently. Heath made me angry. So I can't pick whose route I preferred most, because every single three of them, like all three of them, gave me different emotions. Like Randall, I felt so happy. With Marcus, I just feel extremely lonely and depressed. And then with Heath, I was just frustrated with him. Like, god damn it, I'm still so frustrated with Heath. But anyway, definitely tell me who you guys enjoyed the most between the three routes: Marcus, Randall, or Heath. I can't pick a favorite. They all gave me different emotions, and I don't regret that they all gave me different emotions. This game, I don't think it's your typical, like, I wouldn't even call this an Aromie game, because technically you could be a guy in this game. But it's definitely a visual novel that makes you think. And actually, you can't really escape your feelings away with this game, because it makes you think about situations. And well, at least for me, it makes me think about certain situations, and it pulls out these emotions that I prefer games to not pull out of me. Because, you know, you play games to relax and be stress-free, but this game, my god, it just pulls these emotions out of me that I wish I didn't have to feel, because I feel so depressed right now. But thank you guys for watching from the very beginning, if you have, or even if you just stumbled upon this on your favorite character's route. I hope you guys enjoyed the series. I'm sad to say that it's done with, but there's many more games for us to play. I think the developers who worked on Red Embrace Hollywood, it is not your typical love visual novel. It makes you think and feel things that you might not want to feel. It just leaves me very empty. And whenever I feel this emptiness, I know that's when I played a really great game. So, yeah. I don't know what else to say. I'm just too sad right now. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Stay beautiful, and I'll see you guys sometime in the future.